live, and this is the BS Busters special two-parter episode, which is the first part is wants do not equal needs. I am joined by Poppy2K, who will introduce himself.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? This is Poppy2K. I'm back again with Mr. Red Fox and the BS Busters.
All right, okay. We might be joined by other people as we go on, but if they don't get here early, well, they can introduce themselves as they get it. So as I said earlier, this BS Busters is about wants do not equal needs. Now, what we mean by this, or what I mean by this, is that just because you want certain features in a game or certain features on a console, those are not necessities. You know, those are not like things that absolutely have to exist on that console. I mean, I would think a console would like have to be able, for me, I would think a need for a console would be it not having to be connected to the internet 24/7 in order for you to use it. Because let's just keep it real, not everyone has stable internet. Not everyone has good internet. You know, if you live someplace that's like semi-tropical or has bad weather, your internet can go out like that, and then you're screwed. So I would think that a console wouldn't have that type of necessity, if you will. Now, that isn't to say that, you know, that it wouldn't be there. That being said, I mean, you know, there's all types of wants and needs and necessities and things of that nature. But and before we get into it, I guess we should define what is a want versus a need. You want to tackle this, Poppy, or shall I? Or
Yeah, I could do it. I could start it off and you can interject whenever.
okay, go ahead.
In my opinion, I think a want is something that is usually a non-essential function, item, thing, where it may have certain attributes of, you know, that could be considered a need in your perspective, but in the overall scheme of things, I don't think it's necessary.
Okay, all right. The Merriam-Webster dictionary,
I thought you were going to do
which
that.
I just looked this shit up on. They said a need is a situation in which someone or something must do or have something, or something that a person must have, something that is needed in order to live or succeed or be happy, or a strong feeling or desire that you must have to do something. So basically, like a necessary duty, an absolute. Like when someone says it's a need, we're thinking like an absolute. Like if it isn't there, the deal is off. You know, like
Right.
I need a car that has working brakes. You know,
Yeah,
I
that's
need
a
to live
need.
in an area that has mass transit because traffic is bad enough.
Yeah, exactly.
But then
It's
we have want, and want is a completely different thing. Want is to desire or wish for something, to need something, to be without something needed. The full definition is to be needy or destitute, to have or feel need, to be necessary or needed, to desire to come, go, or be. Basically, it's you know it's basically wanting. It's the act of wanting something. It's the you know it's you want something. It's a verb. It's an action. Whereas a need is it's normally it's used to describe an absolute concrete object or idea. So like you need to be paid, you need to make money, you need to provide for your family, you need to see about your health. As an aside, the Q&A is open if anyone wants to put any Q&As, any questions. We'll attempt to answer them because this is going to be a short cast, not too long. I won't be keeping people for hours and hours on end. Now, I know what some people came here to listen to. This is BS Busters. We talk about movies and video games and pop culture. Well, how does this apply to video games? Well, we hear a lot of people talking about how they need certain features or need a game to have certain attributes or whatever, and that's what, that they need it. But when they describe what they need, quote unquote need, it sounds more like a want. Like, this game needs online. Well, does it? I'm not denying that online wouldn't add depth to a game. Some games, like I'll give you a perfect example, Star Fox. Online would add a lot of depth to that game.
Yep.
If you could do online multiplayer, that'd be awesome.
Fox, a bogey's on your tail.
Yeah, that would be awesome. But is it a need? I mean, because I'll tell you right now, if they were to say fuck the online and give us the deepest single player we've ever had in a Star Fox game, I wouldn't be mad.
What's Star Fox's normal campaign length? It's about what, 8-9 hours?
No, it's like you can beat a Star Fox game. The first Star Fox was like 40 minutes. Star Fox 64 was like, I want to say 3 hours, 2 hours to 3 hours average. The Star Fox on the GameCube was like, I want to say maybe 6-7 hours. Dinosaur Planet was long. But that's not a Star Fox game, so we'll throw that off to the side because it's not a Star Fox game. Assault, that's the one I was talking about. Assault was the one in the GameCube. That was you could finish that in about 6-7 hours. And that's if you were dicking around. If you knew what you were doing, you could beat that game in literally like 5 hours. Star Fox has never had the deepest single player experience. The thing that adds replayability to Star Fox games is the different difficulty levels, the different ways to clear a planet, trying to get the medals. It's like completionist runs and that type of thing.
So you're saying about 8 hours, 7-8 hours. If you do it. If you do everything.
If you do everything, yeah.
Okay, so what would be the expectations from fanboys now compared to fanboys in the previous generations?
Then, well, they weren't happy with the single player back then. I would think that the needs now would be, you want to add value. So I'm guessing some type of online component. But really, the only thing you could do really is to just do what they did on the 64 and Assault, just with an online component. Like, like in Assault, you could fight each other with the R wings. You could fight each other on the ground. You could fight each other with the tanks.
I don't know. These damn real gamers nowadays that call themselves real gamers, they bitch about the stupidest shit sometimes. Now, I may agree with them on some aspects as far as what certain needs, have to be implemented in games.
Mm-hmm.
Such as, if you're going to give me a short campaign, give me a deep multiplayer. You know, that's a necessity in today's gaming. Why do I say that? Because there's so much competition out there that most people just can't stay focused on one thing or over the other because of that. If it's not engrossing, if it's not engaging, if it's not deep, then most people are just throw it to the side. So I think the needs have changed a little bit. Now, as far as all games meeting that same level of expectations is concerned, I don't know. I don't know about that.
It could. I mean, all I'm saying is this: is that
take for example, Halo. Halo 5 just came out recently, right? That campaign is about. I spoke to all the guys that played it deep, and they said about 8-9 hours you can beat it if you do everything. And they said it was short. A lot of people's gripes are that it's short, but the Halo fanatics, they said that's always been the case with Halo. The thing about Halo is that it's got that deep, engrossing multiplayer experience. So if it didn't have that multiplayer experience, then Halo, I think Halo wouldn't have the same type of following that it has.
Well,
So
yeah, it's basically the multiplayer built the community, which basically built the support for that system, for that game. And I'm not begrudging that. The single player was fairly decent, bordering on great, depending on what your opinion is.
but
But
there's a lot of haters out there, Mr. Red Fox. They just hate just to hate. They have no solution. They just throw shots and run away.
well, I mean, like I was about to say earlier. I mean, I'll give an example. I will accept certain things being cut if you're focusing on other things. Um, and I'll tell you when that's a good thing or a bad thing. For example, like I said with Star Fox, if the next Star Fox, the one that supposedly was supposed to come out, was delayed till 2016. If that game, if they dropped online and they said, okay, instead, we're going to do something we've never done before. We're going to give you like a 20, 30-hour campaign. We're going to expand the world. We're going to let you customize the shit out of your R-Wing and your tank and whatever other vehicles we have. You're going to be able to like find technology in order to, spend credits you earn in order to research it so that you can like put it on your ship. That would add a lot of depth to that game. Give you multiple places you can go, like how you can, like the paths you can take in order to get to the end game. That would add a lot of playability to that game. And I'd be like, well, shit, I don't really, that if they added that in a local multiplayer, I wouldn't be mad. I know a lot of people would because, people like to whine and complain like little bitches, like little babies who aren't getting breastfed. But I mean, me personally, gaming is a hobby. It's a completely voluntary hobby. You don't need to play video games. There's other things that you can do with your time. So if they had it, I'd be cool. If they didn't have it, I'm not gonna whine like a little bitch about it if they didn't have it. But that's just my own personal opinion because I'm crazy like that. But then you have a game where like they gave us what we wanted and it didn't work out. Like Zelda Skyward Princess, not Skyward Sword. That game, we wanted a game that really focused on the Wii Motion Plus, and that game did, to the detriment of having a huge world to explore in a Zelda game.
Yeah, the Motion Plus. I mean, it worked. I mean, it worked a lot better than the regular Wiimote, but it was uncomfortable at times.
Well, not just that. It's like you could clearly tell the time and energy they could have spent fleshing out that world, adding more areas to explore.
I mean, it was an amazing game story.
Oh yeah. I'm just saying,
beautiful graphics. I mean,
you could tell that creative energy that went into trying to fit Motion Plus into that game. They could have put that into making more areas to explore, more dungeons, more lore. Like, it was kind of like, well, I'm glad you guys did that, but you kind of, it's like you clearly kind of to the detriment of other things. So I think that, I mean, getting what you wanted wasn't necessarily what that game needed, if you get what I'm saying.
Right. So you're saying that there is times that wanting something can actually damage the end product when gamers are just like adamant about what they want. And
well, yeah,
it takes away from the focus of the overall main campaign, story, whatever.
Adventure. I mean, we're seeing that right now. I mean, in gaming in general, okay? And not just gamers, developers, publishers. All of the publishers said, we want x86 architecture. We need to have x86 architecture. This is a game. We need it.
Yep. That's what they basically they manipulated and directed how a company that's spending research and development dollars should create their end product. And it was a detriment to the consoles because if anybody knows anything about reduced instruction code and complete instruction code, which is what x86 is, you're having to create more lines of redundant code just to get the same or even close enough to what a reduced instruction code game such as a PowerPC based system would give you, essentially complicating the whole development process. But because their whole attempt was to copy and paste PC ports, developers they basically uh, you know screwed over the gaming population because the games aren't any better. I mean, we talk about that all the time in my podcast. I don't think the games like are so much better compared to the previous generation that you could say, hey, this is a true leap forward. You'll see little things here and there. I mean, obviously, Call of Duty was released the other day, and that's improved quite a bit from the predecessor. But it's still, it's still very demanding on the hardware the way it's done, and it doesn't. It doesn't. I don't know if it's going to improve the gameplay or not because, you're going to have to take certain shortcuts.
Well, my point is that like the developer said, well, we need x86 architecture, but I don't even think we got games as broken this last gen as we do this gen using the supposedly more efficient x86 architecture. We're hearing people say, well, the PC is it's not being what it needs to be and all that jazz. But really, I mean, I don't think it's so much the lack of it's the lack of the quality. I think it's just people not knowing how to code. Now you'll hear some gamers who side with third parties saying, well, clearly PowerPC architecture is a problem. Here's where that statement is bullshit. One of the most successful consoles of last gen was the Xbox 360. The Xbox 360 was based on PowerPC architecture, and they had no problem porting shit over to that system. As a matter of fact, the definitive versions of a lot of games were put on the Xbox 360. Like Bayonetta, Mass Effect,
Call of Duty Black Ops 3 is on there now.
Skyrim. So the definitive versions of multiple games were put on the Xbox 360, which used PowerPC architecture. But now PowerPC
what it was,
architecture
Mr. Red Fox?
isn't good enough.
It was just a campaign dialogue message from third parties through the media, which the fanboys took as a damn gospel for how the next generation should be. Now they're seeing the fruits of that mistake. I just think that fanboys are so quick to believe everything that the media tells them, and they don't do their own research and find out, hey, maybe this is why all of a sudden does the third parties have to tell the console makers how to make a console? All these years, that hasn't been the case. What changed?
I'm just saying, yeah, and that's where things get kind of weird, is that it's like PowerPC architecture is known to be the most efficient architecture for certain types of builds for gaming, and yet, and for years, like for 2 gens, for the 6th and 7th gen, PowerPC was more efficient, but now PowerPC isn't good enough.
So could it just be that they want to plug and play, as in they just want to have an easy system where they can just shove their games from their PC to the console?
I think that's a part of it. I also think just some people just don't. I think that it's just easier for them to be little whiny little bitches, in my opinion. I think that for a lot of these, it's just they want an excuse. They just want a fucking excuse. And because a lot of these things are bullshit, you know. And like I said, I'm not the most tech-minded person, but even I know when someone is slinging me a line of bullshit, you know. Like, I know when someone's telling me something that doesn't jive with reality. And I can pretty much tell when someone is just trying to game me. And a lot of these developers, well, it's never developers who say this. It's publishers who say this. Their PR person. Well, we can't put this on this system. We can't use this architecture. That's bullshit. Because you used it last gen.
They've used it for so long, they should know it pretty well by now.
They used PowerPC architecture. The Xbox 360 used PowerPC architecture. The original Xbox used pseudo PowerPC architecture. Both of them used PowerPC architecture. The GameCube used PowerPC architecture. The Wii used PowerPC architecture. There was nothing holding people back from putting games on those systems, other than they just didn't want to fucking do it. That's their business. I mean, I'm not gonna get mad at someone because they want to fucking, put shit on their game, but don't lie to me. Don't get in my face and hand me a bullshit lie. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, why else do you think besides why else do you think besides the fact that they want to make things easier, what other possible excuse could they have? Because
Well, I think that it's cheaper for a publisher to pay a developer to just take a game and strip out features to port it over to a console that's already PC-like, than to go through the time and effort to port a game to the PowerPC architecture. It's cheaper for the developer, but here's the problem. Because gamers nowadays say they need and they say they want better graphics, and they won't buy a game if it doesn't have better graphics, the amount of money that these people are saving by porting over to the PowerPC architecture, they're losing in how much they have to spend in order to have the game fucking patched to get it fixed, because it's not efficient code writing. So either way, they're losing money. And that's funny to me. That is really funny to me that they're losing money like that. That is hilarious to me.
Yeah.
But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's me. I don't know.
So what other topics have you guys gone over?
Well, we just started about 20-something minutes ago, and we were talking about wants versus needs, how gamers and developers say they want something, but really how they need something, but really it's a want versus a need.
Yeah, I don't like. I kind of think that all this, they want so much more power, and it feels like they've kind of dropped the ball on a lot of games, and I feel like instead of taking those resources to make an actual decent game, they're more focused on how much power can we get out of this.
Well, it's not even how much power they're getting out of it. It's that they're using the power of the console. They're using these consoles like PCs, but PCs were designed to handle multiple functions at the same time. A console, on the other hand, is designed to do one thing very well.
Yeah. That's what a lot of these gamers don't understand, because especially since the PS4 and the Xbox One just seem to be completely identical. I mean, people are just arguing who has the better features.
Well, they're relatively the same console, more or less, relatively speaking. There's no real differences between the two, which is sad because, you know,
So what about, does that also apply to consumers, or just mainly developers?
I don't know. I'm not exactly sure.
What were the other ones that you guys talked about?
No, that's just it. We were talking about how, like, a lot of gamers equate wants and needs with the same shit, and those are two completely different things. You know, there are certain basic things. It's kind of like a need is a necessity. Like, if you're talking about a console game's necessities, well, the necessities are that that the game can be playable from beginning to end without, you know, it being so broken and glitchy that you can't finish it. You know, you should be able, if the game has saves, you need to be able to save without worrying that your data is going to be corrupted, so you can start again when you start the game again. You know, those are kind of necessities that in order for you to complete the game. Everything else is kind of a want. You know, it's like people saying, well, you know, I want this character to have this revealing outfit if it's a chick. Or if you're a woman and you like dudes with revealing outfits, this dude to have this outfit because it's a dude. Whatever. You know, those are wants. Those aren't exactly needs. I don't think, at least.
Should you always give the people what they want, or should you hold back a little bit?
I wouldn't know. I don't run a I don't run a multi-billion-dollar company. My business is all about getting people to spend money on shit they don't need. So, you know, that's how I roll. And that's how I approach things. How do you get people to spend money that they could be saving for things that they need on shit that they want?
Education will help.
Yeah, education would help, or lack of education, because people will do that. They'll just, you know, I don't have money. You know, I've seen people who, I have a cousin who all he does is he works a dead-end job, and all he spends his money on is, after he pays his rent, is weed and video games. And I'm like, no wonder your life is a dead end.
Weed isn't cheap, neither is video games, so happening to pay for both of those things does sound pretty terrible.
Those are both expensive habits.
Oh yeah.
But he lives in a shithole, so I guess for him it's, you know.
He wouldn't have to live in such a mud hole if he applied himself and didn't spend too much of his money on weed and video games.
Well, that leads me to the second part of this conversation. He is content. See, people are content with what they have. And, you know, even if it's subpar, if they're content with it, they're happy.
I think we just seem like the we kind of seem like the old men yelling from the rooftops, talking about how
From the
they are
sidewalk
better,
on the stoop.
or like, or
What's
like,
wrong with you, young blood?
or like the prophets in the wilderness, just trying to tell people, man, this is this is gonna lead to disaster. I'm telling you, this is gonna lead to a very bad thing. But they won't listen. They're happy with their mud holes, and I can't help but feel that a lot of modern games are just throwaway games that you just after that game next year comes out, you just throw that game on the pile. You're like, oh well, this game's no good anymore, so I'm just gonna, it's just there's no really actual value to these games. They have a lifespan of about a year, and then they're put on the junk pile after you play them. Not to mention like some of the Steam sales. I mean, like you see a game that's like, oh man, this game looks interesting for $6, and maybe you'll download it and play it for a couple of days, and then I'll just go back on the junk pile on your junk pile. Like how many people do you know that have games on their Steam library that they've downloaded once and probably never played or
They
forgot they
haven't
had?
played whatsoever.
Yeah,
A lot of people. I think everyone has that shit.
yeah.
I know I have games I've bought off a humble bundle because it was like, it went to a charitable cause, and I was like, fuck it. I was like, I can't beat that. I give them $15, I get like 13 games. That's basically $1 a game. And some of these were AAA games. I was like, shit, I don't mind giving them, $13 for a charitable cause. Why not? But I mean, I think gamers have for so long, they have gotten so used to getting what they want that they think that those are needs, and they aren't. Because I think most of us here are old enough to remember when the things that modern gamers expect and claim that they need, we didn't have, and we were okay not having it. No one was like, man, this. Like, I remember when 8-bit graphics were awesome. We had never seen anything like it. We were like, what the fuck is this shit? It's 8-bit graphics. I remember when I first saw 16-bit graphics, like, I thought I was having an aneurysm. I remember the first time I saw Mario 64, I was like, oh no, there's no way. Fuck this, no. What is this? The first time I used an analog control stick, I
See, people, a lot of these kids, there's a kid who's probably like 17, 16, 17, and or he probably is going to think that he's probably thinking that Call of Duty Black Ops 3 is going to be the best, it's the best game he's ever played. And that's the game he's going to be talking about in the next, few years. He's going to be sitting around with his friends on Google Hangout, talking about the old days and probably talking about how they ruined gaming. It's gotten worse.
But everyone's going to be like that. Whatever the next generation of gaming is going to be, there's going to be people that are going to be like, oh my god, like even now, there are going to be people who played Modern Warfare 2. That was the first Call of Duty they played, and they're going to be like, what the fuck is this shit? Like they're gonna play whatever. They're going to play they're going to play Black Ops 3, and they're going to be like, this is a travesty. There's going to be someone doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, we always complain about the generation after us, so it doesn't matter who you are.
You failed miserably. Well, I guess since we've covered that, I guess it's time to talk about the elephant in the room. What are your gaming wants and your gaming needs? And I guess since I brought up the topic, I'll go first. My gaming wants are pretty simple. I want every game to be damn near perfect. Very few patchwork. Fun. Great single player, great multiplayer. If multiplayer's in the game. If it's an RPG, I need it to be long with lots and lots of depth. A lot of replayability. That's about it. My needs, I need a game to not be so broken that it needs about 80 million patches to run.
Yeah, I think my wants are that, you know, I don't want them to focus on, you know, talking about the whole graphical fidelity of a game, like for example, like they did at E3 with Fallout 4.
Oh, you
They
mean
were
that game
talking,
that looked like a PS3 game?
yeah, they were talking about all the technical jargon and what they were doing with lighting and stuff. It's like, what gamer watching E3, you know, how many of these people actually really care about the whole technical aspect of it? You know, it seems like most of these gamers are all of a sudden PC experts, but they probably couldn't explain to you what half that stuff was.
Well, they don't even know what in the thing is that most of the people who were talking didn't even know what in the hell they were talking about. They were just running their mouths.
So I remember whoever it was, the guy who came up and spoke, talking every time he showed that game, he was talking about specific things they were doing with the engine. It's like, what does this stuff even mean? Is this just marketing terms to make people think that this is going to be a stellar game, or it is? I don't really get the whole technical aspect of it, and I doubt half the journalists that are writing that, unless they're like really into PC gaming or really know how engines work, are going to be able to clearly explain that either. And just I want the industry, since these consoles are what they are, mainly to focus on stylistic graphics rather than realistic stuff. Because it just
What, you don't like the PS4 box? The PSX4 box?
I also want gamers to quit begging Nintendo to be, the Nintendo box or the Nintendo Station 4, the Nintendo Box 1 and the Nintendo Station 4, because I kind of have a feeling that's all they want. They just want a Nintendo version of the PS4 / a Nintendo version of the Xbox One, rather than just a unique console all of its own.
I think ultimately at the end Nintendo's going to do whatever the hell they want to do, and damn the haters.
Yeah.
Damn the haters, because Nintendo don't care.
Yeah.
So those are your needs and wants. I guess the last one is Mr. Poppy 2K. What are your needs? What are your gaming needs versus your gaming wants? Or should I say your wants versus your needs?
I think he stepped away because I see his mic is muted.
All right, then. I guess we got to carry this thing along ourselves. Well, when Poppy gets back here, he'll tell us what his gaming needs versus his gaming wants are. I guess we can get a little bit into the gaming news of this week. which I will attempt to find by going on the devil's website, IGN. Let's see. As we all know, Fallout 4 is coming out next week on Tuesday. Blah, 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 blah. Yakety schmackety. Well, Halo 5 came out. Some people love it, some people hate it. What do you think about it?
I think the people, some of the people who hate it are maybe hurt Halo fans, and some of the people who hate it are just PS4 only owners who don't care, who want to see the Xbox One fail, because that's how a lot of this fan base is. They would rather see each other fail than succeed, and push the other one to succeed and do better for some reason. Because what happens when you have a one console industry? You know, what happens when, you know, Microsoft is the only console in town?
Well, when you have a one console industry, we already had it. It was called the NES.
I'm talking about modern day.
Oh, modern day. Oh, Microsoft is obviously probably getting out of the console industry, so like, we don't need to. I mean, and Sony by themselves, you get Sony doing what they're doing already, which is releasing little if to no exclusive content, a lot of third-party games. Beloved franchises that people grew up playing on PlayStation aren't being brought back. You know, fun shit like that. That's what you get. You get someone who does not give a shit. Because Sony ain't Nintendo from 30 years ago that was basically trying to build an industry. They're just trying to keep their head above water.
That's the problem. You know, that's everybody's cheering on Sony and Microsoft, but they refuse to read between the lines, knowing that, okay, if Sony even is making a profit, how much of that profit do they actually keep? How much of that profit just goes back to paying off loans and debts? And Microsoft hasn't made anything on the Xbox One. They want to pull out as quickly as they can before it hurts their company, because they don't need Xbox to survive. Like, okay, the Xbox division goes, and that's a lot of jobs that are lost, which, you know, which is bad for those people. But in the long run, Microsoft doesn't really need Xbox. If they can just turn Xbox into like a Steam-like platform with you know, more stable, more fluent, with Xbox Live, I think they could do it.
That's what I think they're going for. That's what I really think they're going for. I think that what I think Microsoft is going to do is they're going to make like a Xbox Steam box kind of thing, and that's going to be their next console. Either that, or it's going to be like a Steam stick you plug into your TV, and you'll be able to play games through there, like it being like literally streamed from your PC to your TV. So, I think that the days of Microsoft spending billions and billions and billions of dollars developing a console, that bullshit where they spent $100 million developing a new controller, that shit's over.
And they could afford to have really good deals. Like, if they had, you know, certain features that just aren't on Steam and that were, you know, done much better than Google Hangouts and Skype, I think they could get away with charging for gold. Like, having more for gold members, having better sales on games, or maybe even discounts on new games. rather than spending so much R&D on developing a console.
I don't think Microsoft is. I think Microsoft, the days of Microsoft having their own studios and making their own shit are over. They'll probably like have people they're just gonna fucking pay to do shit, but I don't think they're gonna do it. Never again. Oh well. It was fun while it lasted, Microsoft. Actually, it wasn't. You bastards, you money-hatting motherfuckers broke the damn video game.
Well, isn't that what they did, Mr. Red Fox? I mean, that's what they've done all the time since they've been in there, is try to buy their way up the ladder.
That's what I said. Those money-hatting. I tried to spin it well. I was like, well, it was good while it lasted, but no, you money-hatting motherfuckers.
No, and Sony did too. Sony fell into that trap.
Both of them. Except Sony went broke doing it. Microsoft still has money. Don't let those losses fool you. Microsoft still made a fuck ton of money this fiscal quarter.
You notice that Square Enix, Capcom, Activision, or excuse me, EA have all started you started hearing rumors of them talking about. Well, they started letting out the information on whether or not they'll consider supporting Nintendo. Oh, we are in talks right now with our great friends at Nintendo.
But
support their next platform.
But I can't help but feel it's the same comedy show.
That just it screams of desperation.
It screams to me that I've seen this shit before. Remember E3 2012?
Yeah, I remember that.
It's the same shit, except there's no John Riccatello popping up there. I remember
unprecedented partnership with Nintendo.
I remember when Ken Levine brought his ass up there. He was like,
BioShock. Yeah, no BioShock.
I could imagine playing BioShock in bed next to my wife. And
don't do that, Mr. Red Fox.
And
I don't blame. Listen, but I can't blame Ken because they let his ass go too. So
he's
still. Soon as BioShock Infinite was released.
No, he's still at 2K.
Yeah, but 2K. They cut his team, man. They fired all his team.
No, he decided to fire because basically they were going to fire his ass and the team, and he basically said, "I'll sacrifice them to save my own ass."
He sacrificed his whole team.
Which tells you how much of a pussy he is. Because I'm going to tell you right now, Sakaguchi took all of his team with him when he left Square.
What he did was he slit the throat of his lambs and put them on the altar and set them on flames and the angry gods won't be mad at me now. So
only Kenoshi can put together some. All these analogies that Kenoshi comes up with, man. I'm telling you, this is creative as hell. No, I mean seriously, he did. He sold out his people. Instead of jumping ship, he pushed everybody off the ship. Get the fuck out of here!
You're too heavy.
You motherfucker! This motherfucker is sinking, and there's only enough space for myself.
Can you imagine pushing a woman out?
But you know why they closed down that section of 2K?
Yeah.
Because they didn't make enough sales from BioShock Infinite, and if you go look at the sales chart. That game sold at least, 5, 6, 7 million?
He oversold that game to them. He was like, oh, this game's going to sell so much that even a poor person would buy it. And seriously, that's something along the lines of what he says.
And the season pass is still $20.
Now, you want to know what hurt BioShock Infinite? Here's what hurt BioShock Infinite. Basically, Levine, here's the thing about BioShock. All of those Shock games, System Shock 1, System Shock 2, BioShock 2, BioShock Infinite, they all have to have this fucking twist. And the problem is that Ken Levine, instead of giving people what they wanted, you build upon what you've already established. BioShock Infinite, it's using the BioShock name. So, anyone here played BioShock Infinite?
Yeah, they tried to make the game full circle.
Did you play BioShock Infinite?
If you play Infinite and you play the DLC, it kind of tries to connect everything. But as entertaining as that was, if I were to probably, pick it apart. It'd probably be like, yeah, this is.
Let
You're
me
trying
put
too
this.
hard. You're
This
trying
would have
too
made
hard.
Bioshock Infinite about, I'd say about 80% better. If they had
I love part two. I love part one. Part two was okay. Part three was back, better, a little bit better.
Bioshock Infinite.
Yeah, Infinite was a little bit better.
Here's what would have made Bioshock Infinite way more badass than what it was. Okay, basically, if you would have had future Booker DeWitt, who was actually that crazy white guy who was the main villain. Okay, if you had that guy, who's the head of Columbia, going up against the head of Rapture, that would have been an awesome premise. Like, the first half of the game, you're thinking, I got to take out this guy right here. But no. You've actually got to... This guy finally did find an alternate dimension, but you're not taking on him. No. You're taking on a Andrew Ryan Rapture that didn't go down the shitter.
That would have been great.
That would have been the greatest.
That would have been amazing.
You had young Booker DeWitt and Elizabeth meeting up with Jack from the first BioShock, a not aborted Jack who's actually a villain. That would have been fucking awesome. But no, we had to get this. Well, it's really an alternate reality, and you're the bad guy. Twist, ah! It's like, come on, man.
Yeah,
you could have done better than that.
They kind of tried to do that with Barry LC.
And they still wound up trying to tie it with that bullshit alternate reality bullshit. So
yeah,
it still wound up kind of But as I was saying, that would have been a cool BioShock game. That would have been the best shit ever. Have those shitty characters they had in those shitty Big Daddy analogs, the Patriots versus a Big Daddy. That would have been the best shit ever.
That would have been. That would have been amazing. That would have been.
With that drill, a Big Daddy with that drill hand versus Vigors versus Plasmids. Who is the baddest of them all? And you could have the final showdown. It'd be a four-way showdown. Jack, Booker DeWitt and Elizabeth, Andrew Ryan, and that asshole. I forgot, the old guy who's actually future Booker DeWitt. That would have been awesome. And then, spoiler alert, Atlas pops up. He's like, ha, it was my plan all along.
Oh, dude. Oh, that would have been awesome, actually.
That's all you had to do, Ken. But instead, no, you're going to give us that shitty twist. Oh, it's really alternate reality. You're really, God.
So who's Jack again? Is that the name? Is that the?
Jack is the Would You Kindly man.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's who he is.
Would you kindly? Would you kindly? Oh, not my daughter and child. He's the aborted fetus of Andrew Ryan.
Okay.
That's Jack. Who, if you follow the quote unquote good ending and you save all the little sisters, like they wind up, he becomes their adopted father, and when he dies, they're around his deathbed. He lives a full and happy life. It's actually quite touching. It's quite touching. That would have been an awesome game.
Yeah,
but instead we got this and Vigors versus Plasmids. That shit would have been awesome.
Oh yeah. Yep.
It's like, oh, I got a murder of crows. Oh yeah, bitch, I got bees. Your murder of crows is nice, but I got bees.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, that would have been a great game. Holy crap.
This motherfucker's shooting fireballs. Oh, that's cool. Guess what? You're standing in the puddle, motherfucker. Yes. And I've got electricity! Oh, shit. No, goddamn, no.
Oh man, yeah.
And you could have had the racist commentary, like, do you throw the ball at the black guy, at the black chick, or the guy who's telling you need to throw the ball at the black chick? I'll kill the guy with a lightning bolt to the face. Because I'm not a nice, you know. And you could have had this whole monologue between Andrew Ryan. He's like, because like he did in the original Bioshock, he's like, a slave obeys, a man chooses. Would you kindly?
Yeah.
Oh, would you kindly now? Would you kindly?
But yeah, I think Bioshock Infinite played it way too safe with its gameplay.
Actually, I found the gameplay of that game to be kind of fun. Like when you were using that hook thing to traverse around the level and stuff. I think they didn't make that game as open as it could have been. Like if they had given you that whole city just to explore at your leisure instead of kind of funneling you along this storyline, it could have been better.
But I think they should have tried to make. I think they should have kind of tried to push you to use the figures more, because you could have been like, oh well, this guy somehow is immune to bullets because he has a figure in which can absorb bullets and shoot them back at you. So how are you going to counter this? Like, you know, kind of like a real RPG where you have enemies that are immune to certain elements. Like, oh well, I can't exactly do this to him, so I'm going to have to change up my strategy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know.
They had dudes like that in the original Bioshock. By the way, we do have the Q&A app is open. You guys can ask questions anytime you want to. We'll attempt to answer them.
So
what do you think, Mr. Red Fox? Do you think that EA is full of shit again, or they actually turned a new leaf?
I like how you said that with a straight face. That's the thing that got me. What do I? And here's the thing: there are no cameras on. I can't see his face, but I could imagine in my mind how he said that with a straight face. Do I think? I think EA is going to do whatever the hell they need to do in order to make money. Here's how I know EA is full of shit, though, right? And this is going to blow your mind, fanboys. Here's a little secret. What is the #1 leading hardware manufacturer in the video game industry right now?
The leading 3DS, right?
Well, that's a part of it. The #1 video game hardware manufacturer right now in the industry is Nintendo. And I know people say, but the Wii U is at 10.77 million units sold. Okay? The 3DS is at 57.45 million units sold. So combined, they're around 64, 65 million units sold.
But you can't do that, but Microsoft and Sony do it all the time.
Yeah, and Sony, I'm going to be fair to them. Sony has about 11 million Vitas sold. They have about 25 million PS4s sold. That's pretty respectable. That's 35 million. That's 35, 36 million units sold. Here's the problem. Their first-party games, Sony should be making huge amounts of money off of their first-party games with that type of install base.
Yeah.
But that ain't happening.
Yeah, I don't like. It seems like the only game that they care about really advertising is the Uncharted series. Like everything else just kind of gets. Well, it's a first-party game. Here you go. They'll show it like at E3, and that'll be it. It's like, what? Why do you care more about your first-party studios? What?
Because Sony is not a game developer. Sony is a tech manufacturer, and those are two completely different mindsets. We have a question here from Anderson Archilla. which is anyone find it kind of warped that people think it's a bigger injustice that Star Wars Battlefront isn't on the Wii U instead of how awful the game actually is? That is kind of funny. Here's all I'm gonna say. If people really want to play a good Star Wars game on the Wii U, I'm gonna give you one that you can get for less than $30. Go on Amazon, look for Lego Star Wars: The Complete Saga. It has episodes 1 through 6. Get that, and it is one of the best Star Wars games you can play. Yeah, it's Lego, but you know, this is Lego. This is good shit. You've got all these characters. You've got like over 100 characters. Luke, Yoda. You can kill Jar Jar like 1,000,000 times. It's great. Lord Vader.
So, when's that game coming out?
What, Battlefront? I guess later on in November, like the 20th, I believe.
It's gonna be
28th.
interesting. It's gonna be interesting to see people's reactions to that game.
Oh, it's gonna sell well until people find out how small the amount of content is for it, and they're gonna be. It looks great, but I mean, you're getting 50% less content than in the last Battlefront game. They're charging you for the extra stuff with a fucking $50 season pass. Oh God, don't get me started. Fuck EA. There you go, right there. Fuck EA. Fuck EA up the ass with a sandpaper condom.
It also sounds great too.
What?
Mr. Red Fox, did you just say a sandpaper condom? Golly.
Yes, I did. I want EA to suffer.
That's right.
for buying Battle. Like, here's the thing. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I love Star Wars games. I mean, I really love Star Wars games. Like, I have all the shitty Star Wars games on the NES. I have the good ones on the SNES. I have I have all of them on the N64. I have all of them on all of the good ones on the GameCube. I have all of the good ones on the Wii. I have none of them on the Wii U because they haven't released any Star Wars games on the Wii U. And no, I'm not calling Disney's Disney's Toy Box bullshit Star Wars games. Those are games that have Star Wars IP. Those aren't Star Wars games. So yeah, I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I have tons of the books. I have tons of the. When I was younger, I played the trading card game, and I still occasionally do play the tabletop game. That's right. The all Jedi or no Jedi rule. You know, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, but I'll be a fucking idiot if I'll buy this fucking game because EA bought the license. Fuck that shit. I'm not giving them a dime of my money if I can avoid it. So yeah.
If you can avoid it, so that means there's a chance.
No, if I can avoid it, that means that like if the game is like $15 on EA Origins on PC in like 6 to 8 months, I might get it. But that's gonna be.
I was just doing the math, Mr. Red Fox. How much is the DLC thing going to cost? Season pass, $50, right?
50, yeah.
Okay, let's say in a year the game drops down to $20.
Yeah, right? You're still paying $70.
You're going to be paying $70, and it's going to stay at that price for
ever,
pretty much. I was just looking at some games that have been out for a few years, and that seems to be like the number where they stick around $20.
Well, occasionally.
So that tells me that they're setting up the entire industry, right, for a higher price DLC season pass, so-called season pass, in where essentially they're going to be making a pretty nice return on that investment, because whether GameStop continues to sell their game or not, they can still sell it on the Origin, the Steam, GOG, anywhere else they sell digital sales. Excuse me, my wife's over there doing something in the kitchen. So what do you guys think? I mean, I'm sorry about that, Mr. Red Fox. I know I had Dora in the background. My daughters were listening to Dora and stuff. So
No, I mean the way I feel about it is like
exposed.
this. They can do whatever they want to. I'm not
Look,
really.
look at Fallout. Fallout, they want $40, right?
Yeah, but
They
I
want
mean,
$40. Or is it, yeah, $40, and then Call of Duty 3, Black Ops 3, they want $40 or
here's
$50.
here's why I'm saying there's a caveat with those statements. Even though I don't think highly of Bethesda at all, period.
Fuck Bethesda.
What I will say about Bethesda is this: when Bethesda gives you expanded content, they really do expand the game. Like, it's not just like, oh, well, look at this shit right here. We just gave you a little. We took your money and ran. They do give you a fair value for what you're paying for. On the other hand, when it comes to Call of Duty and EA, I don't trust their shit.
Yeah.
Okay, but Bethesda, they'll drag out, patches throughout, the first 2 years of the release,
Yeah.
where they'll fix something, they'll break something, they'll fix something, they'll break something. And my understanding is Fallout 4 will be heavily dependent on servers. So, I mean, I could be wrong, but my understanding is that you're gonna need it's gonna be an always online type game.
That could be the case. I wouldn't know. I don't think so, just because I know that in order for you to download it, because it's digital only, even with even the bit that you download, you're gonna have to download it off of Steam, so that's gonna be the DRM. What I heard is that what they're doing is that the game itself is like 30, 40 gigs, but
Yeah, but if it has a high res pack, you're talking about 60 gigs easy.
yeah, I
70
mean,
gigs.
like I said, they can do whatever the hell they want. Like, I don't think it's going to be online only just because, Steam does have offline things. I think there might be certain things that are online only, but like I said, Bethesda tends to be a bit more. They tend to give you more when they do DLC. They do old school like PC expansions. So yeah, you're paying for X or X, but it's literally adding 20-30% to the game with each expansion. So let's say you have a game that normally takes 80 hours to complete. They add 15-20 hours of content with one expansion. If they have a season pass with 4 expansions, you're getting 60 hours of extra content. I mean, sometimes Bethesda fucks up like that, but if you're giving someone 4, it's almost kind of like how Nintendo did with the season pass with Mario Kart 8. Like, literally, you got 40% more game for $13.99, or no, $12.99. So, I mean, I can't get mad at those types of deals. Okay, then, we got some more questions here, one of which is really good. Does value still equal price for some products? This is for games and movies. This is from Yin Yan Yao. Does anyone want to tackle this?
What was the question?
Does value still equal price for some products? This is for games and movies, in parentheses. This question is from Yin Yan Yao.
I think to some extent, a product that is valued at a lower cost initially or over time will always have what do you call it? It would always appear to be much lesser quality or value than a comparable product, in my opinion. So yes, in some aspects, shallow because of the shallow minds of the sheep out there, that consumers, aka consumers, if they see something like really high, costly, then they attribute that to a better value. It's like it applies to anything. Like for instance, Apple iProducts. Are they any better than the Samsungs? Are they any better than the HTCs? It's that's all subjective. But you're going to be paying more because that's just how they have positioned themselves at a higher tier or valued, or excuse me, a higher priced valued product. That's my opinion.
Okay. All right. Anyone else want to tackle that before we move on to the next question? No? Okay. Yeah, I think the value equal price thing is subjective because it depends on what you value. Because different people value different things. I like games that have length and depth to them. I don't like casualized experiences, but we're constantly getting casualized experiences, so I can't really be like, oh man, I can't believe those bastards did that. I can't, because they're going to do it either way, which pisses me off because, like I said, I do like depth. Our next question is from Anderson Archilla. I recently watched the Cinemassacre interview with Lloyd Kaufman of Troma Entertainment, and he mentioned the media has cartels. So who would be the cartels for gaming? The publishers, ratings board, or some unnamed third party? It's the publishers. The publishers are the cartel for gaming. That's right. And I'll tell you how I can prove it. Remember how third-party support left Nintendo? How it started with EA and Activision, and then the rest of them followed, and how third-party support left Sega. It started with EA and Activision, and then the rest of them followed. Like there's a war going on in the video game industry between first party and third party. And first parties are also the console manufacturers, and they're pulling in one direction, and third parties are pulling in the other direction, and they're basically trying to take control over the industry. And I'm going to tell you right now, and this is just my own subjective opinion, but the day that third parties take control over this industry is going to be a hard day for gamers.
Mr. Red Fox, you still there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Just goes blank. That's one. Yeah, I think the third parties, they obviously have a stranglehold on the industry right now. Somewhat less than what it used to be, obviously because of the money having. They were able to control that. Obviously, the Xbox and the PlayStation were obviously, directed in a way by them on how it was going to be designed, produced. So, I mean, are the next generation versions of the consoles going to be controlled by the third party? I don't know. I think the Sony and Microsoft have to reevaluate their product planning and their overall strategy on what they really want to do. But they both signal that the end of third-party money having is actually over.
Yeah, when Microsoft said we're not paying it out anymore, we will no longer negotiate with terrorists. That was the end of it. That was when the shit hit the fan. You could collectively hear you heard the sound of bricks clattering to the floor when they said that in that press conference. That was the sound of all these big third parties shitting bricks. And it was great. I've never been so happy. because this industry is back to what it should be. You make a product. If it sells, you make money. If it doesn't, your ass is out the door. That's the end of it. None of this, oh, well, you know, we need to be able to, we need to make this game like this because we're assholes. Don't you understand?
So I wonder if since Microsoft is no longer money hiding, I wonder if Sony's going to be money hiding too.
Sony can't afford the money hat. They might be working some backroom deals, like bundle this game with our PS4 because it's selling. But the days of Sony just like doing that type of shit it's not going to happen. But yeah, there are gaming cartels, and it's the third parties. Another question from Anderson Archilla. So apparently Activision is opening an animation studio after buying the Candy Crush devs for about $5.9 million. Can we expect them to go under within a year? No, I give it about 2 years. Activision takes a franchise and then runs it into the ground. They did it with Angry Birds. They did it with Tony Hawk. They did it with Guitar Hero. So I'm guessing within about 3 or 4 years they're gonna run Candy Crush into the ground. Although how can you run a game about matching between 3 to 5 things of the same color in diagonally, horizontally, or vertically? I'll never understand, but whatever. They'll do it because Activision. Next question's from Rebound King. Have you played any of the Star Ocean games? I've not played any, but I kind of want to get the new one. Well, go ahead, man. They're good. Except for the last one. The last one sucked. The one that was on the PS2, that one sucked. Don't get that one. But the one after that is pretty good. It's an origin story. It tells the beginning of Star Ocean. The next one probably will be good, maybe, perhaps. I don't know. It's Tri-Ace. Tri-Ace does a good job. Does the Trans-Pacific Partnership, if it goes through, affect gaming in any way, or is it benign? Well, it's already gone through, but they've got to implement parts of it, and some parts will get implemented, other parts might not. So, I mean, as far as I can tell, it's not really going to do anything to really affect games all that much. What they probably will do is probably mean that they'll start going after people who pirate games a bit more, people who hack games, that type of thing. So if you're into that style of gaming, then you might get fucked. But other than that, you might be fine. We have another question from Rebound King. How would you describe the relationship between Bandai Namco and Nintendo? Anyone? Well, funnily enough,
we talked about it today. Remember?
Yeah, we talked. Poppy 2K and I, we talked about that today. How to describe it in the best terms imaginable? I got a good description for you. Namco Bandai and Nintendo are like, they're like two dudes who grew up in the same neighborhood. And while they aren't the best of friends, they don't fuck with each other. But Namco Bandai isn't going to go out of its way to help Nintendo out. Like, they aren't going to throw them a bone. What I mean by this is, like they recently released Soul Calibur. They released Soul Calibur 2 HD remastered. And they brought that shit to the PS4 and the Xbox, the PS3 and the Xbox 360, but not to the Wii U. They're entire games that aren't coming to the Wii U, like that new Naruto game, that One Piece game didn't come to the Wii U. I mean, Bandai Namco is just, they're kind of ass backwards on some things. They'll help Nintendo if Nintendo pays them for it, but they're not going to go out of their way to do anything magnanimous. So, I mean, it's kind of like they're very mercenary. with how they treat Nintendo, which is better than Square Enix, which goes out of their way to fuck them all the time. Speaking of value, do sales like Steam devalue games? And does value justify Nintendo pricing NES games for $5?
Yeah, Steam devalues the games. Yes, it does.
I guess Steam devalues games. I mean, it
does.
depends on what people are willing to pay. Like, okay, like Steam will sell.
Listen, I'm willing to pay $1 for every fucking game.
Yeah, Steam will. Well, the thing is that Steam will sell a game for fucking. They'll sell a AAA game from 2 years ago for like under $10. Now, did Steam devalue that game? Well, they're selling it lower than it's actually worth. But on the other hand, for people who didn't want to pay $60 for that fucking game, that's a godsend. Because games naturally devalue over time, except for some reason except for cartridge-based mediums. But like other than cartridge-based mediums, the rest of those games degrade over time. Like I have a Chrono Trigger, I have Earthbound. Those games are worth a lot of fucking money. The cartridges of them, the cartridge versions of them, the original versions, original media of them. And that's rare. And the reason they hold their value is because no one's fucking making cartridges anymore. Like, the factories that made those, a lot of them have shuttered, or they've moved on to making other things. That's how they hold their value. The reason Nintendo's pricing NES games for $5, well, to tell you the truth, a lot of those games that's still cheaper than the actual physical price of those games. Like, Batman for the NES is a damn good game. It's like $35. Contra, damn good game. It's like $45. So $5 is actually pretty damn cheap for a lot of those Nintendo games. Super Mario 3, that's normally goes for like $45, $50. You can get it for $5. That's pretty cheap, especially digitally. Gaming is an expensive hobby. So how's the Ratchet & Clank reboot game looking? It has a lot of parallels with Star Fox Zero, what with both being reimaginings. But do you think only one game will get flack for that, or will both of them get hated on? I think Star Fox Zero is going to sell relatively well. I think the budget is going to be kept in control for it. I think Ratchet & Clank reboot isn't going to sell as well as Sony would like because the audience for those games has moved on. Like, I'm getting a PS4 for Ratchet & Clank, but I guarantee if you ask people who are getting a PS4, they're not getting it for Ratchet & Clank, okay? I think I'm the minority. I think I'm the exception to the rule rather than the rule itself.
But that's just a remastered. It's not a brand new entry to the franchise, right? They're
rebuilding the game from the ground up. It's not like they just HD'd it. They're rebuilding.
I mean, that's what they did with Darksiders. All they did was they transferred the assets over to a new engine with better lighting and essentially shading. It's going to make the game look a little bit better, but it's still the same game. No,
they reimagined that game. They didn't even use a different engine. They just basically ported over medium settings from a high-end PC to consoles. Literally, they're taking Ratchet & Clank, the first Ratchet & Clank game, and rebuilding it from the ground up in a new engine, new character models. Kind of like what they did with Wind Waker HD.
All right. I'll wait to see.
I'll give it to them. It's awesome, but
you know what? Listen. I just been burned so many times, Mr. Red Fox. So I become cynical.
I know that Sony likes to lie, like how they lied about that Jak and Daxter HD collection, which wasn't fucking HD.
no, they lied about NAC.
That shit wasn't HD.
They all told us that NAC was the next generation in platform gaming.
And no, I don't think they said that. I think gamers who were fanboys for the PlayStation said that.
I don't know. Mark Cerny was pushing the hell out of it.
It's like NAC, because NAC was a fucking tech demo for particle physics. But I digress. Whether we like it or not, it seems VR is here to stay. Do you think it'll actually get traction or be some niche fad meant only for a certain group? I think it's going to be some niche fad meant only for a certain group. Because this shit, they tried to push this shit in the mid to early 90s, and they pushed it hard. VR is the future. VR is the future. VR didn't do shit. It was too expensive. It was too clunky. And it was too damn dorky looking. And, I mean, even though the prices have gotten more affordable, it's still too expensive. For the average consumer isn't going to want to put shit on their head. And just you wait. There are going to be people suing these VR things. It's like, I played VR for 6 hours a day for 18 months, and my eyes got worse. Well, that's your dumb ass. And that's the end of our questions. We have reached the end of the cast. I think we covered needs versus wants adequately. Stay tuned. Tomorrow we'll be covering the second half of this, where we'll be talking about needs versus wants from the we covered more of the consumer side today. We'll cover needs versus wants from the producer side, industrial side, tomorrow. Anyone want to do their sign-offs?
Well, my name is Kanashi Abominita. Sorry for showing up late. Sorry for not being too lively, because I woke up from a nap. So, and glad to be on another one of Mr. Red Fox's podcasts.
You was tired, dude. You were knocking folks out, straight up knocking folks out last week. And we've also got Poppy 2K, who will give his sign-off.
Thank you again, Mr. Red Fox. Appreciate you inviting me. I always enjoy these BS Buster casts. Obviously, we had an excellent conversation behind the scenes. So when we got on here, we talked about a lot of the stuff that we were discussing here. But in general, I think that gaming is so much more accessible than it's ever been. And obviously that's attributed to the fact that most of our content is digital now. And therefore, if you have a pretty decent internet connection and nice, gaming setup, that you can enjoy a lot of these offerings. So if you don't have a PC, folks, you're missing out on a lot of good stuff out there.
And you don't need to spend $15,000 to get.
Yeah, you don't need to spend that much. Maybe $2,000, but. I mean, generally speaking, if you play games and you enjoy games, I mean, just keep doing that, because that's what helps the industry grow. As far as all the fanboy antics and stuff, I mean, that obviously that's all nonsense, and we'll agree to disagree. How about that on a lot of things out there? So, Mr. Red Fox, thank you for having me again. I appreciate your awesome contributions to my podcast, and I look forward to another one of these, maybe tomorrow, right?
Mm-hmm.
Check out my channel, Poppy2K, and check out that boy, Kenoshi Abamanito, and Mr. Red Fox. Go ahead and like it and subscribe if you haven't, folks.
All right, folks. This is Mr. Red Fox signing out. Look forward to part 2 of this, where we'll focus on the more from the business side of it. What businesses need versus want. And stay tuned. I'll have some more content coming up next week. And good day.